There we go. That was Loco Motive. So yeah, as you can see, it was a game by Robust Games. And yeah, I quite enjoyed that. As someone that doesn't really play a lot of point-and-click adventure games, like the last ones I remember playing were the Ace Attorney ones. I mentioned it a bit earlier, but I never got into Broken Sword, Broken Age, you know, all the other types of adventure games that are common, you know, people know about. I thought it was pretty fun. I will say, I think it did need to have the hint system. And another thing as well is I think this game is carried a lot by the voice acting. So Sean Chiplock and the rest of the guys here, they did a great job. It's partly because, well, on the one hand, it's a pixel art game, right? So they're obviously not going for, you know, hyper-realism or stylistic. But the pixel art is really good, you know, they get the smoothness of the motion, and the voice acting matches the movement of the lips of the characters, and that's obviously not easy to do. But yeah, I think if this game didn't have the full voice acting, I think it would be a much lesser game for it, you know? Because it's one thing where you can kind of imagine the voices in the game about, oh, Arthur will sound like this and Herman will sound like that, based on how, you know, the text looks. But it's always better to have like an actual representation of how the characters talk. So yeah, I think the voice acting is probably the best thing about this game. It's the thing that makes it stand out a lot. I mean, the setting's good, you know, a murder mystery on a train, that's quite nice. I did enjoy playing as Arthur. You know, you get the bumbling attorney that's thrust into being a detective to try and help out the murder. Oh, well, the discovery of the murder and, you know, figuring out how to do it. Oh, there's more.
Are we really letting those three go?
How do you mean?
They may not have murdered Lady Unterwald, but they committed so many other crimes.
You forget, we've got them on record confessing to their lots.
I suppose so.
Have a little faith, Bailey. We were always one step ahead.
So they're going to blackmail the three? Jimmy, no!
I'm in.
Good work, Agent. You know what you have to do. Leave no trace.
Yes, ma'am.
Is that Jimmy being Solid Snake? Oh, there's a recording. That's a terrible job trying to fix up the breakout. Okay, yeah, there we go. That's the end. So, to carry on wrapping up thoughts, yep, the game voice acting is the thing that makes this stand out. I will say I think they had a lot of ideas for the first part, which is the initial playing as Arthur, being on the train, talking to the passengers, trying to figure out the puzzles of what combines with what to make the next step progress along. And then it feels like they kind of couldn't really find a good way to match that with Diana's section. Like, the section with Diana, you barely played that much, and in theory, you didn't really have to have that much to go by, because Jean-Loup is introduced. Well, he can be introduced because of the way that the text in the greetings card works. But you don't actually have to make him try shooting everyone else and chasing after the train. That could be a lot longer. That could have been extended quite a bit. But they, you know, you get that short bit where you stop the train, derail it, and then you're kind of in the situation where you're talking to the police officers and you have to break out of the prison. And yeah, I just feel like, because a lot of the game is supposed to take place on the train, once you're off the train, it's like, right, we need to get to the ending quite quickly. So I don't know if it's like they kind of had the idea and then ran out of time, or if they were just like, no, the focus of the game is the train, therefore we're going to wrap it up pretty quickly after we get off the train. But, yeah, you know, I enjoyed it. I do think it's a shame that I feel like this game is going to suffer from discoverability issues. I've mentioned it a few times now. I'm just trying to think of comparing it to like the Plucky Squire that came out this year. The Plucky Squire got a lot more of a marketing budget, I feel. It got spread out a lot more. Again, that had the art being the hard carry of this is a game that people should take note of. But this is a cool game in its own right. You know, it's an adventure game, so you kind of have to be in that kind of... You have to like that style, that genre of game to really enjoy it. But, you know, there's a place for it, you know. So yeah, Chucklefish, thank you for offering for the preview code. Unfortunately, we weren't able to use it because we used the Switch version. Performance on the Switch version was fine, and I would hope it would be, because there's nothing too taxing going on. We did have a couple of glitches and one issue of a soft lock, although it was actually more of a hard lock because I couldn't progress in the game. I had to turn the game off to be able to save it, because it wouldn't let me choose a save slot. But yeah. Oh, the other thing, the music. So I think the music is quite good. Like, it fits the period and the time setting and the kind of the vibe that you're trying to go for. One interesting thing is that I think it's not often thought about, but a game's main menu theme can affect your perception of how the game is quite drastically. Like, this intro theme song that they have on the main menu screen, I think is really good. It's really catchy, it fits the theme of the game, and yeah, it's good. And I was just thinking back to like games like Metroid Prime and Metroid Prime 2, and they've got really good main menu music. And some people don't really like Metroidvanias, they don't like Metroid games that much, but they can really appreciate the music, and a lot of that comes from the main menu music as well. So yeah, overall, I think this game, well, it's a good recommend. Yeah, I just have to say, like, I really enjoyed having the hint system in place, because, yeah, otherwise, you know, people would get stuck on these types of games. It's an issue of the genre, unfortunately. Adventure game logic just does not make sense in some cases, and that, even with the hint system, I was finding myself, oh, I'm gonna have to look up what the next thing to do is, because it doesn't make sense to me. But I don't know how you get around that without outright saying, right, this is what you need to do next. Because Dirk's there to give you hints. He's not there to tell you exactly you use this character to use this item to do this thing with that other character. He just kind of gives you the vague, yeah, this is where you're supposed to go and what you're supposed to do. So yeah, no, I applaud the devs of Robust Games and Chucklefish. Again, I always like Chucklefish games. They're a publisher that I really like. So yeah, looking forward to whatever the next thing that they choose to publish will be. And that will do it for today. So yeah, like I said, the ending of this game came a lot quicker than I thought it would be, because I heard originally on how long to beat. It was supposed to be like 12 hours, and then it got updated to about 8 hours, and I was like, well, hang on, I've already played 8 hours, so surely I should have finished the game by now. So I was like, no, 12 hours sounds about right. But yeah, I guess 10 to 12 hours, depending on if you're talking to all of the characters and trying out all the items, and even just banging your head against the wall to figure out, alright, what am I going to do with this puzzle, and what am I going to do to sort of figure out the next step, you know, rather than trying to look up a walkthrough, which is kind of what I did. So yeah, that was Loco Motive.